I get asked a lot of questions in my role with resume pilots and CV pilots. And we've already covered one of the questions, but this other question is a question that's not necessarily asked out loud, but it is the one that decides who gets hired. So the question is, what are hiring teams actually looking for in a senior appointment these days? So when I say senior appointment, we're talking VPs, directors, C-suite level. So at that senior level, hiring teams, hiring boards are absolutely already assuming that you can deliver the results, that you have delivered results. That's why you're even in contention. What they're not trying to figure out, though, because you need to make it really clear, is if you're, it's not whether you're capable, it's whether they can figure out whether they can trust you with their biggest risk. So we're looking really at the real criteria, the non-published, non-talked about, but what the really is happening. We're talking about those hiring decisions, that those factors that are really determining whether you get hired or not. So the first one is clarity of value. Do you have a leadership thesis? So what boards are wanting to understand is, how do you lead? What are you known for? It needs to be in a really clear, succinct line. And frankly, if you can't summarize that value, they're not going to do it for you. So something like senior leader with extensive experience in operations doesn't cut it anymore. What they're looking for is something more aligned to commercial operator known for scaling regional health businesses while protecting margins and compliance. I'm Zoe Price. I'm the CEO of Resume Pilots and CV Pilots. We're a global career consultancy. So the other thing that they're looking for is what you've done in the past replicable? Could you replicate that for them? So it isn't about what you've achieved, it's about how you delivered it, under what pressure, and how those results are going to translate to their environment, because that's all they really care about is, can you redo it for me? So something like grew revenue 18% during regulatory transition by restructuring incentive models and restoring clinical confidence. That snippet there tells them that you can navigate change, that you can rebuild trust, and that what you've done, it demonstrates how you did it. So therefore they can see they can do that again. It's replicable. The next thing is, and this is the really critical one, is how defendable you are. So when a board is making a decision around who their next director or VP or C-suite person is going to be, it's very rare that those decisions are made by one person. So therefore, if there's a closed door meeting, when you're no longer in that room, you are going to need at least one person to be able to say, here is why I'm backing this candidate. If that story and your results and how replicable those results would be, if your story is not defendable, you're going to come unstuck. And it needs to be defendable, not just by, well, I thought they were good. It needs to be defendable with metrics, with demonstrating your judgment, and with real clarity. They need to understand, we want to speak to this person, we want to interview this person, we want to appoint this person because we're really clear on what value they can bring. If you can't make it really clear, you won't make it into that room in the first place. I have said for a long time that leaders are not chosen for their past. Their past is important, but they're not chosen for their past. They're chosen for the confidence that they give others about the future. So let's do a couple of little takeaways here. Your leadership thesis. You need to know what it is that you're known for. So let's give an example. I specialize in stabilizing underperforming divisions and restoring profitability through operational discipline and stakeholder alignment. That's your leadership thesis. That says what you do under what constraints. And I know therefore that because I've done it here, I can do it for you. Evidence. You need evidential stories. You need the storytelling, but you need the evidence within that. So think about structuring it such as an outcome plus a context plus any constraints plus the leadership action. And then last of all, really, is the decision-making line. So they need to understand how you make your decisions. So let's say, as an example, known for leading growth under regulatory pressure and defending margin without headcount loss. That's really clear and gives them the confidence to even just say, we're prepared to interview this person. So make sure that you incorporate all of those aspects into your resume. You stand a far, far better chance of being picked up by hiring managers in this market than you would without that. The market has changed. You need to make sure your resume reflects that.